So yeah, my name is actually Morph1G and not Morphic.
Yo, what is going on, guys? My name is Leo Master. Welcome back to another Overwatch League video, and today I am finally doing something I've always wanted to do. It's been a minute and I'm finally doing it. I changed it slightly. If you saw it on Twitter, I talked about this video early, and basically what this video previously was going to be is top 50 Overwatch League players of all time, and that may not be the same thing we just read the title. It's basically the format I made that you're basically about to watch with me ranking the rookies. Obviously there's not a lot of rookies. There's not top 50 rookies this time around. There's a lot of rookies this time in the Overwatch League season. Some have not played, and the ones you see on your screen right now are the players I'm not ranking because one, they haven't played yet, or two, they have not played a lot or played recently enough where I feel like it's fair enough to put them on this list. The only player that will be on this list that only has played 2 games so far is SparkR, and the reason he's on this list is because we know for sure that he is going to be staying on this roster, and he's also changing the team up a little bit, so he's going to be in this list. That's like the only player that's played 2 games that's going to be in here. There's players like Gable Shi, who some people may think could be on here, but he hasn't played in a minute. He's been in like a tiny rotations, but not like how he was in the June jousting previously before that. So there's a few players that will not be in here because, like I already said. And before we jump right into it, I will say no one is going to agree with this list. No one's going to agree with your list if you put it down in the comments. Everyone's going to disagree with it, so have fun. It's just a fun thing. I may do these almost every year, maybe a couple years here and there. I see myself doing this type of format thing in general, like top 50 Overwatch League players of all time may come around again. Who knows? So this time is just the rookies. So here it is. This is the format. Obviously, there would have been 10 more blocks to rank top 50. But let's go ahead and go on to number 40, the worst rookie. And this isn't necessarily his fault, but it is going to be HighB on the LA Valiant. And the reason he is on here, like I said previously, it really isn't his fault. He was previously a tank player before he was in the Overwatch League, and he ended up becoming a support player. Obviously, he's not going to look good, and he hasn't looked good so far for the LA Valiant. And LA Valiant all around is not looking good. We're going to see that be a previous thing in the next couple of squares here, being Valiant players. And the next one is going to be Silver 3. Obviously in the conversation right now for the worst main tank in the league, if not one of the worst ones we've seen in a while. Like, I'm talking about to like season 1 type of bad main tank. I mean, he's occasionally had plays on like Winston, Reinhardt occasionally, but every time we watch this guy, it has not been impressive. And another thing, just like with all the LA Valiant players, keep this in mind, it really isn't their fault. LA Valiant threw all their players aside, you know, last season, and then they just went on budget. I'm pretty sure they even said they did not expect to win at all this year, so they just kind of signed players just to sign them. They got Silver 3, they got, you know, HighB, they got Crystal, they got these players that are not looking good previously and are not showing good performances, and this isn't really on them. They're just kind of being thrown in. Now on to 38, and a lot of people may not like this one. This is where a lot of disagrees come in, is MyKaylee. This guy had a lot of hype, and it may be the hype that makes him go low. We expected a lot from this guy, you know, being the main hit scan player for the Charge coming into the season. He comes in and he drops the ball. It's like, what are we watching this guy? He has not been impressive on the hit scan really at all. I mean, occasionally, just like every player does, they have occasional performances that look solid, but this guy has not looked good at all this entire season. I think there's a few other Valiant players that will be above him shortly that have shown better performances than him that are rookies. And with that, I think MyKaylee is one of the more bottom rookies in the league. I think there could be a potential team for him. Maybe, who knows, the LA Valiant. Maybe a Chinese team could be good for him. But on the Charge, I don't know. I mean, new coaching could change this team, new players. But MyKaylee has not been impressive at all this season. Positioning wise, him playing like Widow has not been good compared to other hit scan players in the APAC region. So with that, I have to put him at 38. Then 37 is going to be Mo Lanran. And this one was a tough one because, you know, looking at LA Valiant, everyone's always going to think these guys are bad players. But Mo Lanran has actually been pretty good, solid a little bit all season long for the Valiant. I mean, yes, he's not super consistent, but this guy has actually brought really good performances that won multiple fights for this team. Not really any maps, but fights where he looks good on the Doom, the Tracer, occasionally the Echo. Like, this guy occasionally has good performances, better than I would say MyKaylee, obviously. So Malaran, I think he's been actually a bright spot for the Valiant next to like Crystal on the team. And Shocheng, and speaking of Shocheng, he's actually 36. I think ChongSik has been probably the best player on this team, next to, like I already said already, of Crystal and Molanran. I think ChongSik has had a fantastic year playing for this team on the off-tank role with Zarya and Diva and occasionally some Sigma. This guy actually makes a lot of plays for this team when needed, wins those team fights when he needs to, maybe wins a map on like Control or two because of a play he did. I think ChongSik is actually one of the better parts, and I even said that before the season started, that he was actually not that bad. When I watched in Contenders, did some research on him, I said he was going to be one of the better parts on LA Valley, and he ended up coming through with that, and he is one of the better parts, and I hope this guy stays in the league. You know, maybe he gets signed to a different team next year, or we'll see what happens to him, you know, later in LA Valley. Maybe they'll stay a Chinese roster and actually change some stuff around and be good the next year. I think ChongSik could be a fantastic player to keep on this team, if they wanted to keep some of the previous players, of course. Now on to number 35. I think a lot of people expected this player to be somewhat low, and it is Hybrid on the London Spitfire. This guy has just not really performed at all this year. I mean, he misses shots that are quite easy, actually, and his positioning has been strange. He goes a little bit too aggressive sometimes, and they no longer use him, and now that Sparker's in, the pace has changed completely for London Spitfire. Hybrid was really holding that team back multiple ways of his hit scan play. I think there's been a lot of plans around him to make plays, and he just doesn't really come up with them. He doesn't execute on those plans. He doesn't execute on any of his plays in general, solo plays, all around team plays. Hybrid has been very underwhelming this season. I think previously in Contenders on some teams, he actually has had solid performances, but as it comes through recently in some of his Contenders days and now the league, he has been one of the worst hit scan players in the league, which really sucks to see. I think Hybrid, just like any other player, has a lot of potential, but I think he needs more time Contenders to actually come through. So far in the league, he's not been impressive, and he's really been holding the London Spitfire back, really. So hopefully London Spitfire is good from now on. They had close games already with Sparker in the roster, so I think everything's good for now. We'll just need to see what happens in the future for the London Spitfire. Now on to number 34. This player just came into the league recently. I think he's actually doing decent work with the team he is on. It is ChongSik with the Vancouver Titans. Now, yes, I know people are going to say he's the second worst main tank in the league, which I would say he's somewhere around that, of course. I do think, though, a lot of people will ignore it. I think he has helped the Titans a tiny bit, slightly. I think he has. As soon as he came in, the Titans looked a little bit better. Have they won games because of that? No, but they looked more as a team now when they execute plays occasionally. Now, yes, they still do their own thing. They just go on separate ways still. You know, Fry is going his own way sometimes. You have Dalton, Linkser, Wolf, and Fire completely somewhere else. It still happens, but occasionally they are together and they execute plays. And when they do that, they do look so much strong. And I think that is because of ChongSik. When Shredlock was previously in the roster, they were always on separate ways. Now, when ChongSik has been in, he has helped this team become more together on executing plays, and you can tell this guy's still passionate about the game. Every time we look at this camera, he is just wanting to win. He looks exhausted sometimes, like he's tired of losing. He wants to win. So I think ChongSik still is hungry for some wins. He's hungry for Vancouver Titans to do good, and I think he is a solid rookie so far this season, but I think he is going to stay in this lower area from here on out. Now to number 33. It sucks for him to be this low, but Checkmate. There was a lot of hype for Checkmate coming into the Florida Mayhem. We did know, though, that he probably wanted to get a lot of playing time. He played occasionally on his main role, and now he has been transitioned to main tank. I mean, that's not been that bad. It's surprisingly been good. I mean, so far, I mean, every time something's happened like this where a DPS player or a support player goes to tank, they don't do that bad at the start of their first weekend or two. But teams figure it out really fast. They do. I mean, did you see what happened previous weekend? I mean, it was kind of a roll. So with Checkmate, he has to be low. I mean, Florida Mayhem, I don't know what's going on. I have no clue what's going on with Florida Mayhem right now. OG's not playing anymore. Is this a sign that he may want to retire, or is he's all around holding the team back and they don't want to say it? Checkmate comes in. He's helped this team be a little bit more aggressive, I noticed, as soon as he came in. I mean, Florida Mayhem was very aggressive recently with Checkmate playing the main tank. So he's going to be ranked low, but I think at the end of the season, I can see myself actually placing Checkmate somewhat high when it comes to it, but I think so far Checkmate is going to be ranked pretty low, and I would actually say he's been doing a good job playing main tank than ChongSik so far. I mean, and what I mean, you know, Checkmate's really changed the Florida Mayhem. His playstyle has been crazy, but I think it needs more time to develop. Now on to number 32, and it is going to be Friday. I didn't think Friday was going to be good this season, and it still stayed true the entire season so far. There was some hype for some people around the Overwatch League community saying he was going to be good. I still have not been impressed with Friday at all. I think there has been some subtle improvements with him throughout the entire time in the league, through tournaments, May Melee, June Joust, currently in the Summer Showdown. I just personally don't think Friday has been that mind-blowing of a main sport as some people made him out to be. I still rank this guy pretty low compared to other main sports in NA and APAC. So I currently just don't think he's that high of a rookie, if not even in top 20. So I have to place him here. And on to number 31, another main sport player is Ansoonjae. Now, I will say before I go into anything else, he has been improving. I have seen it. I have studied Ansoonjae. He is improving a lot since the start of the league. And in the May Melee, I think June Joust was his improving time, and now he has looked better so far in Summer Showdown. So I had to rank Ansoonjae somewhat high, I guess, in this area. So I think Ansoonjae has potential still, but he has had a slow time gaining that improvement and just being better compared to every other main sport in the league so far. So Ansoonjae is still going to be ranked number 31 though. I think this guy does have potential, but so far I think he is better than Friday when it comes to him being a main sport and being a rookie all around. But that's got to be it for Ansoonjae. Now, from here on out, 30 up are very good players. Keep that in mind. Even the players below them are really good, but I think 30 up is where I had a very hard time ranking players. And it was a very hard time ranking. Here we go. Let's go into it. Number 30 is going to be HighB. London Spitfire are improving right now, but I still have to put this guy right here because he has been super inconsistent throughout the entire league so far. I mean, like I said already, end of June Joust, London was getting better. You have Sparker in now, and he's helping the London Spitfire look good. HighB's looking good. Molf1G is looking good now. So HighB, I think he's perfectly placed here. I think this is a good spot for HighB. He's improving, but yet there's some inconsistencies of him throughout the entire league so far. I think this guy still has a lot of potential. In with number 29 is another Toronto Defiant player, is Nice. I think Nice has also had a lot of inconsistency moments throughout the entire league. He has shown great performances on heroes like Echo, occasionally Tracer, some Doom. But I think this guy has shown a lot of good for Toronto as well. He's helped his team, helped get them some wins, some fight wins. I think Nice is still good. I think he's been solid all around for the Toronto Defiant. Now to number 28, a good part of the London Spitfire as well is Molf1G. Molf1G has also been a very consistent part of the London Spitfire throughout his entire time in the league so far. Yes, there's been a lot of moments where he has had really bad games. I mean, very bad games where he does almost nothing, doesn't get his ults on time, poor usage of his ult in general. It's been poor games sometimes for Molf1G, but majority of the time, 80% of the time, he's had good games for this team. He's being held back still. And with, like I said already, HighB and London Spitfire all around, I'm not going to say it again after this, Sparker came in and London Spitfire is looking different. Molf1G was a big one that looked really good throughout this entire time in the most recent games. So Molf1G, I could see Molf1G, HighB going up in the rankings sometime soon, maybe at the end of this year. Now to number 27 is Faith on the Boston Uprising. This guy has also been solid all year, I would say. He's not been mind-blowing. He's not been insanely bad, but I think he's been solid for the Boston Uprising. His Lucio has been all right. He has decent peels for his team. His ult usage is solid. Positioning could be a bit better for Faith, but I think all around, Faith is a solid main sport player. Could there be upgrades for him next season? Absolutely, but I think Faith is a good piece for the Boston Uprising from here on out, and we'll see what he does later and if he improves even more with Lori and the Boston Uprising team all around. Now on to number 26. It is going to be Feather on the New York Excelsior. This guy surprised me when he came into the NYXL team when he played in the past couple of tournaments. He's actually not been that bad. If anything, he's been better than HighB so far this season, which was not really a shocker, I would say. I think HighB really performs on those good teams like it was at the Philadelphia Fusion. When he's on a team not so good, like we've seen previously for Toronto Defiant and now the NYXL, HighB does not play that good, which we'll see what that does later with HighB later in the future. But Feather comes in and he's actually kind of doing good all around. He's solid, like Faith, solid. He's good. Occasionally has bad performances, good performances. Very flexible of a player too that can get his job done that he needs to get done in the game. So I think Feather all around is a good piece of NYXL, just like Flora, which we will get to Flora when we get to him. But I think Feather is a good piece of NYXL, and I think this is a solid spot for him. Now on to number 25. It is going to be Dawn on Paris Eternal. This was a player I actually moved around a lot when it came to making this list. And I think this is a good spot. Maybe could be higher for some people, maybe even lower for some people. But I think Dawn has been very solid out throughout the entire league. This guy got a lot of hate early in the league, which I never understood it. I think Dawn has been a fantastic part of the Paris Eternal throughout the entire league. Yes, he's been very aggressive at moments, but I think when it comes to his Reinhardt play, occasionally his Winston or Nissa play, he has been solid. I feel like he's been more dominant on the Rhine recently too, and he actually has changed the pace up in some games he is in, and his team has been a big factor in that. They run up with him, kind of like Bumper on Vancouver Titans in Season 2, where Bumper's very aggressive and his team run up with it. I think Dawn is kind of like that, where he's very aggressive with his Reinhardt and his team needs to run up with it. And sometimes it doesn't happen, and Dawn looks well, stupid when that happens. Now to number 24. One of the more recent signings and has been dominating ever since is Aspire on the Toronto Defiant. I think if we had more time, if I just weighted this list more, I think Aspire could be even higher, maybe top 20, maybe even near the top 10 conversation. But I think Aspire, so far with the impact he has had on Toronto Defiant so far, he has been massive for this team, changing the game for Toronto Defiant. On God. As soon as he came in, this guy's been dominating left and right on the Toronto Defiant. You see him play Tracer, you see him play Kree, occasionally some Widow. And with them doing the double hit scan plays right now of Hisu and Aspire, they've been looking solid. They've been looking good. So I think Aspire, I hope he does get fully signed to Toronto Defiant. If not, traded to a different team next season. Like, a lot of people may hate it, but I think if he goes to the Vancouver Titans, if they want to change their team next year, I think Aspire would be a huge part of the Vancouver Titans next year. I mean, imagine Aspire, Taro, they keep Fried, and then they upgrade the other parts around them. Like, that would be a really good team. I think Aspire has a lot of potential, and a lot of people know that. I know a lot of people know Aspire has a lot of potential in this upcoming couple of games for the league on the Toronto Defiant, and maybe even next season. Like, this guy's almost guaranteed to be in the next season of the Overwatch League. Now to number 23, another recent signing is Paris Eternal Vestola. This guy came in just dominating. Like, I had no clue who this guy was previously. I did some research, didn't really see a lot of him, and he came into the Paris Eternal and just changed the game, kind of like Dredrow, which we will get to Dredrow when we get to him. But Vestola's off-tank play has been phenomenal for the Paris Eternal so far this season, changing the game. He is with Dawn majority of the time. His peels are fantastic, positioning is really good, he executes his plays. Like, Vestola has been a very underrated off-tank so far, and I think some people see that, some people don't. I think Vestola needs to get a lot more praise because he's been helping the Eternal get so far in the Summer Showdown. I mean, they got knockouts. They're doing good so far. I think that has to be a big part with Vestola and Dredrow when we get to it. And like I said, I've been hyping it up ever since. Number 22 is going to be Sparker. I think a lot of people may hate this. A lot of people may want him lower, but they don't mind me putting him this high. I think a lot of people knew how good this guy was going to be coming in to the Atlanta Spitfire when he turned 18. And ever since, this guy's made every game close so far. I mean, look at the Shock game. That game should have been unwinnable for the Atlanta Spitfire. Sparker comes in and changes the tempo, changes everything for the Atlanta Spitfire against the Shock. The Shock were not ready for it. They were trying so hard that game. I think even some Shock players even tweeted out that that was a hard game to play. And I think that has to be all because of Sparker. That guy's positioning, his plays were top level. Sparker has been a massive game changer for the Atlanta Spitfire ever since he turned 18. And I'm excited to see what they do in the future. Like, these guys could beat some top teams out of nowhere because of how good these guys are recently. Now on to number 21. This player was a weird player to rank around this list because he has some solid performances all around. They're really good or they're just solid, and it is Nisha on the Chengdu Hunters. I don't think I have a lot to say about him. He's just been a very important part for the Hunters ever since the start. His main support play has been very good on the Mercy, on the Lucio. I think this guy has been very solid, very underrated. I think there has been somewhat of a downward slope ever since the start of the year, but I think he has been good all around for the Chengdu Hunters, but we'll see what happens with him later in the future. I could see this guy even going down more in the list, but I think so far this is a good spot. Now on to the top 20. This is where it gets even harder. In general, this is where it gets juicy and a lot of people are going to scream. So number 20, Flora on the New York Excelsior. This guy ended up being the main starting hit scan player for the team. A lot of people did not expect this because of Guangbu, with the hype he had, what everyone researched about him, including myself, that this guy was crazy. But Flora comes in playing that hit scan role, and this guy's been really good. He's been surprisingly good for the NYXL. Yes, there's been multiple moments where it's been very interesting, but also keep this in mind, he's played majority of the season. That's why he's above players like Vestola and Aspire. I think when time comes, I think those guys are easily better than Flora when it comes to like ranking rookies, but with how long this guy's been in the league so far and playing every game, I have to rank him somewhat high. So with that, Flora gonna be ranked 20. I think he's been a really good part of the NYXL since the start of the year. Yes, NYXL is all over the place. They're not that good majority of the time, so I think Flora's been a bright spot on that team, but I think that's gonna be it with Flora. I think easily though, like I said already, Flora is going to go down these rankings some point in the future if I ever do this again. Then on to number 19, it is going to be Houston Outlaws Jubi. I think this guy was so weird player to rank. I think he was going to be in the top 20 no matter what, because he was a player that had a lot of doubt. I did not really think he was going to be that good until middle of the off season, where I thought, you know what, maybe he's solid. I put a lot more research into him, more watching his streams, mostly not his previous like contenders or maybe even his previous games in general that he played competitively. I just watched his streams and I watched that, and he looked solid. He came into the Houston Outlaws really surprising a lot of people, and he was a solid main sport ever since, and he still is a really good main sport. Yes, there's been moments where Jake comes in and Jubi comes in, doesn't look that good sometimes, where like it's Brig and then you have Mercy, Lucio he's really good at. But I think recently he's been really picking up his game, really in general. And I think Jubi is going to have more of a bright future in the next upcoming seasons of the Overwatch League. I think this is a perfect spot for Jubi right now. I can see him going up even more, actually. Now to number 18, it is going to be Valentine. I had to place him somewhat lowish on the top 20 part because Valentine at the start of the year, mostly in the May Melee, was very inconsistent. A lot of people were starting to get underwhelmed with Valentine, but as soon as the June Joust came around, and even the Summer Showdown right now, Valentine has been a very good piece of the Boston Uprising with his flexibility so far on this team. He's been very aggressive. He has great positioning, execute plays really well. I think Valentine's been a big piece for the Boston Uprising ever since, June Joust and even Summer Showdown right now. Now to number 17, another player that shocked us all. It was Monk on the Chengdu Hunters. I was surprised by this guy. With Faraway 1987 coming in, we thought this guy was going to be crazy. They signed Monk right after, and Monk has been really good positioning. He's been solid on the most part. Yes, there's been moments where he gets really caught out. He has good nade spots on Ana. Like, this guy's Ana has been crazy. Even his BAP has been good. I have a lot of good things to say about Monk. I think a lot of people do as well. Just like with Hunters all around, I think a lot of Hunters players are kind of going on a downward slope right now, and there's been leaks about these Hunters players as well. So Monk, I think 17 is a good spot. I could see, how Hunters is going. He can go downward in the rankings sometime soon, maybe at the end of the season. But I think this is a good spot for Monk. He has been doing great performances on the Hunters. Now on to number 16. This is going to be Dredrow on the Paris Eternal. Now, I think everyone knew when he first got signed, he was going to change his team. At least I said that. You can go check my video about it. I talked about Dredrow a lot when he first got signed, and he changed the team. Neptuno was really holding his team back, and Dredrow came in. He brought in plays for this team. Very aggressive. You can tell he's a shot caller for this team. He talks a lot. You need that in a team like this, and Dredrow has just changed his team out massively. His playstyle has been a big part of the Paris Eternal, where you looked at Neptuno previously, where he was more on the passive side of his playstyle, and that did not really help players like Onigod and Naga and Dawn especially. You needed someone like Dredrow, where he's a perfect mix of both passive and aggressive of his playstyle, and it has helped the Paris Eternal ever since. And on top of that, he caused a lot of stuff in game. So Dredrow has been a big part for the Paris Eternal so far, and I think he will be even in the knockouts in a couple of weeks. Now on to number 15, and a lot of people are not going to like this one. It is Assassin. I think Assassin has been underwhelming in a sense so far this season. Now, that may be taken out of context, weirdly saying underwhelming, but he's ranked 15. I think a lot of people, including myself, expected Assassin to really be insane this year. Even with the early talks about him in the offseason when he first got signed, that this guy was going to be crazy of a player up in this upcoming season, and that really hasn't happened. I mean, yes, he has great performances still, like the K beside him and just being on the Justice in general, but I expected a lot more. I really did, but maybe I should have had lower expectations. But still, Assassin has still been dominating on the Washington Justice. Could he do more? I feel like yes, but I think Assassin has done still wonderful things on the Justice so far with his flexibility in general. He has changed the Justice in every meta so far, so I think Assassin is still going to be ranked pretty high. Now to number 14, it is going to be Jimmy on the Chengdu Hunters. This guy was a shocker for me. I had no clue who this guy was before the Overwatch League. He came into the Hunters. I had no clue what to think about him. I watched his hit scan play, and it was just too good. This guy is crazy of a hit scan player, and that's all I gotta say. He's just crazy. If you watch him, he's good. His Widowmaker plays is fantastic. His Tracer, he's just good. I mean, I'm mostly known for his Widow so far. I know he plays a lot more, but like his Widow has been game changing. His hit scan play has been game changing for the Hunters ever since he's been playing in the league. Now to number 13. A lot of people did not think this guy was going to be that good this year, and I even put it in my top 10 rookies to look out for, and he's been dominating recently, and even all league, is Naga on the Paris Eternal. This guy has been a consistent part of the Paris Eternal ever since the start with his flexibility, even on Echo recently. I think a lot of people can talk about his Echo recently, which has been game-changing. Very different playstyle, very different of an Echo playstyle in general compared to other Overwatch League players so far that played the Echo. Naga has been helping this team win games. He is carrying the Paris Eternal at moments. So is Onigod, so is Don, and Dredrow. These guys are changing the team. And I think Naga is a big part of that with his Echo play. Another one that people will be shocked with is Skewed on the Los Angeles Gladiators. I think a lot of people still don't really talk about this guy that much. I mean, he's still a fantastic main support player. I know a lot of people go back to my tier list and see I put him B, but it's still, he's good. He's such a good Brig player, which is crazy to say if you really think about it, because a Brig specialist just kind of sounds weird. And you have Skewed coming in, and when he plays that Brig, he is changing the pace. He's changing everything in that lobby when he is in. The other team that they go up against sometimes looks lost against his Brig play style, and it is absolutely crazy with how he plays. And Skewed comes in over Moth occasionally, which seems weird, but when he comes in, he has a big impact of his Brig play. I'm talking, look at his heals, his ult charge is super fast. His kills on Brig are really high impact too. So I think Skewed has been a big part of the Gladiators, and we'll see what he does later on this team in the future. Now to number 11 is Taro on the Vancouver Titans. I feel like it's got to be fair to place this guy high. It just is. This guy has been so good on the Titans this entire season so far. I mean, he has had high tier games. His May has been fantastic. His flexibility has been great for the Titans. It just sucks that he cannot really get a win. It just sucks. He can't get a win. He tries his best. You see it in his play style. He's always with his team. He trusts his team's plays and executes them well. I think Taro has a bright future in the Overwatch League. It just sucks that his team has not won yet. A lot of players holding him back. I would see what Taro does in the future. If he stays with the Titans, if he gets traded to a different team next year, I think Taro has been a fantastic rookie player so far in the Overwatch League. Now on to top 10. I previously was going to make a top 10 rookie so far, but why not just do something like this where it's basically two of the same videos? I'll just do one where it's this. And now at the top 10, number 10 is going to be MCD. Personally, for me, I think MCD has been a very good part of the Hangzhou Spark. Very surprising, I would say. You know, previously, if you watch them as Contenders days, after players like Sparkle, Doha, and all of them left, MCD was kind of standing there, and he was kind of feeling left out, and ever since then, he did not look super good, but he ended up getting picked up by the Spark, and he has been a very good part of the Spark ever since. I mean, look at his Ana play, look at his Zen play. This guy has been having high impact in the Spark ever since he's joined, and he's been playing every game for this team. So I think MCD needs to be ranked pretty high. I know a lot of people may not like the 10 spot, maybe want to be even lower, but I do think MCD deserves to be in the top 10. Now to number 9. I'm scared to show this one personally. It is going to be Mag. I think Mag has been underwhelming. I think a lot of people would agree with me that Mag has been underwhelming so far this season. I think we expected a lot more. There's been a lot of inconsistencies with Mag, but he still dominates in the game. I still think he's been a fantastic main tank, one of the better main tanks still this season of the Overwatch League. But I think we expected a lot more with everyone's hype, including me. I hyped them up a lot, and I take that blame on myself. And we expected just a lot more what we saw in Contenders and coming into the Justice. But I do think, though, there has been moments where this guy has changed the pace of the game that he's been in the Justice, but there has been some issues. You can tell that with Mag in game. Now to number 8. A lot of people won't like this one either, is Muse on the Gladiators. I think this guy has been way more consistent. He's kind of stayed with his hype a little bit that I put out there with the LA Gladiators, that he has been a solid all-around main tank. He occasionally has had a lot of high-tier performances. Yes, there's sometimes where he kind of looks lost in-game, but I think Muse has been a huge factor on the Gladiators' success here and there. I mean, just look at the record. I mean, it still stands that Gladiators is a good team. I think that still stands with players like Muse, Skewed even, yeah, Moth, Shu. I think Muse changes the tempo for the Gladiators when they're in-game with their aggressive playstyle sometimes, and I think Muse is just a big part of that, personally. Now on to number 7, and I had to place him somewhere in the lowish area, top 10, because we have not seen him play all Junjiao, so it has to be Zhonggu. I think Zhonggu has been a better main tank so far than Muse and Mag so far this season, which could sound like a hot take. I think Zhonggu, with the doubt a lot of people had, including myself, that we had for Zhonggu coming into the season, that he was not going to be that good of a main tank, he comes in and absolutely swings. Like, this guy is in the conversations all the time for being a top main tank in the league. It just sucks we couldn't see him play all June Joust because they signed Dreamer to play like Ball and Orisa. I still think Zhonggu could have played those roles completely fine for the Houston Owls, but they signed Dreamer that wasn't that good still. So I think Zhonggu in May Melee and right now in the Summer Showdown he has still been dominating with his high tier performances. And I think Zhonggu has been one of the better main tank rookies so far, and even better than Muse and Mags at a lot of points this season so far. And another Houston Owls player that has played all year is Piggy. I think Piggy is still a very underrated off-tank player the entire season. Like, this guy brings in a lot of top tier plays for the Houston Owls with his Diva play, his Zarya play, even his Sigma play. This guy is very consistent of an off-tank player and brings a lot of good performances and execute his plays. His positioning is great, and even his ult usage has been fantastic for the Houston Outlaws. And just Zhonggu Piggy, we already knew they were going to be a good duo all around even before the season even started. Yes, I still doubted them, but we knew there was some synergy there that they were going to bring to the Houston Outlaws, and they brought it, and it's been insane. And when soon as Dreamer came in, Piggy looked lost sometimes, but now that Zhonggu's back in, I mean, just Zhonggu Piggy are still just a fantastic duo, and they have been helping the Outlaws by a lot. Now onto the top 5, and I had to place this guy somewhere high. I just had to, because this guy brings a lot of good performances for the Paris Eternal, and it is going to be Khan. This guy was one of the better flex sports coming into the season, and he exceeded everyone's expectations coming into this season, and he has been such a bright spot for the Paris Eternal since the start. I mean, look at his bat play especially. Like, this guy has been a fantastic bat player with his lamp timing. His heals are always high. I mean, this guy is just good. He is a top flex sport all season long for the Paris Eternal. And we even see that recently in the Summer Showdown so far. Like, this guy is just pulling out things that we haven't seen in a minute. Like, he's giving me Jonak vibes since season 1. Like, this guy's bringing a lot to the Paris Eternal. Now to number 4. Even with this team kind of going downhill, I still have to rank this guy high. What he's doing is Naga on the Chengdu Hunters. If it wasn't for this guy, who knows what Hunters would be. I mean, this guy's still brought a lot of good main tank performances for this team. A lot of top tier ones. He plays all the main tanks at a super high level still. And I think he just helps the Hunters just be in there. I mean, he's very flexible in all the main tanks. He's helped his team in the long run. That's all I got to say. He just helps the team all around. Now on to the big 3. I think everyone knows what this big 3 is going to be. And number 3 is going to be Choi Se-won on the Guangzhou Charge. I myself personally did not expect a lot from him coming into the season, but he really came in out of nowhere and just surprised me. This guy has been super flexible for the team. He's had the most impact in the team as well. I mean, winning a couple fights, winning some maps occasionally for this team. Like, if it wasn't for Choi Se-won, I don't even know where they would be. I mean, a lot of players have not been that good on the Charge except for Choi Se-won. That's just it. And who knows what's going to happen to them later on. I think Choi Se-won may stay on the Charge next season, see if there's going to be some more team changes around, or he gets traded to a different team. Like, Choi Se-won has a lot of potential on other teams. It would be fantastic to see this guy go somewhere else, but Choi Se-won has been so good on the Charge all season long, very consistent, even brings top tier performances as well. Now to number 2 is going to be Shy on the Hangzhou Spark. This guy had a lot of high expectations coming into the league. You can go back to my videos talking about it. This guy has still brought in those expectations, and he's exceeded them with his hit scan play and all around his flex play. He's been very flexible this season so far, and he's just been super consistent. Like, one of the most consistent high tier hit scan players all season long for the Hangzhou Spark, and I think he's still going to be doing it even after this video is over. Yes, Spark has had a rough weekend, but I think Shy is still a huge piece of their success going forward in the Hangzhou Spark. Now on to number 1, it's going to be Pelican. I mean, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's me watching a lot of NA recently. I don't know. Pelican has been super flexible for this team. The lane of rain, I mean, who knows what they would do without Pelican. This guy makes so many plays for the team, even by himself. I mean, watch the most recent Dallas game. Pelicans pulling off plays that almost won them the game majority of the time. Even previous weeks beforehand, Pelican is nonstop dominating, super consistent, very flexible of a player, can play some hit scan, dominates on the projectile heroes. This guy is number 1 for me right now. A lot of people may say Shy, a lot of people may say Choi Se-won, but Pelican is definitely my number 1 rookie so far of the season. But I think a lot of people will have different opinions. So yes, that is my ranking of all the rookies, worst to best so far. I know a lot of people are going to disagree. I know that it's going to be a given. So have fun with it. Just have fun with it. Don't take this too serious. We're still halfway in the Overwatch League season, so please keep that in mind. This is like halfway. I don't know if I'll redo it again at the end of the season, but this is it right now for me personally. Now, yes, I said already, I think a lot of the more Hunters players could go down. I mean, Muse and Mag still have potential to go up. You have a lot of players in like the top 20 area. I mean, you're talking Skewed could go down or up. Taro can go down. A lot of players are going to change a lot. Maybe this next weekend, players would change. But right now for me, this has got to be my ranking. So that's gonna be it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this ranking video, and we'll see if I do it again. So if you guys want to stay more in tune with Overwatch League news and Overwatch League stuff in general, don't forget to subscribe down below. Also, don't forget to join my Discord down below as well. Don't forget my Twitter and my Twitch, and don't forget to hit that bell, and don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. And I'll see you guys on the next one.